Today is July 17th, 2024. I am Derek Fildebrandt, publisher of the Western Standard, and you are watching The Pipeline. I'm joined, as usual, by Western Standard senior Alberta columnist Cory Morgan.
Good day. I feel really weird in this middle chair.
It's a weird spot. We've bumped you over because we've got, not as usual, filling in for Nigel Henneford, who's on a well-deserved vacation. We've got Western Standard news editor. What's your name?
Dave Naylor.
That guy.
Cory, apologies.
Yeah, I know you were first in. It's like the scramble for the seats.
I mean, like technically he's higher up on the food chain, so he gets to pick his spot.
Well, true.
Yeah.
I'm just a part-timer.
You're just a mere ink stain wretch. All right. Well, of course, we're going to have to talk about the biggest story in the world today, the Trump assassination, but the plot thickens. More information coming out, making this story stink more and more every day. Can't we just have a good old-fashioned assassination where one guy goes crazy and there's just really nothing to it? Does not increasingly look like that was the case. So we're going to talk about developments in the Trump assassination plot. Speaking of Trump, Trump has named his vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance. I was shocked to hear J.D. Vance because I was like, I remember that name. I read a book from that guy a number of years ago.
Yeah, Hillbilly Elegy. Ron Howard made a film out of it.
It was great. And then I didn't even know the guy was a senator. All of a sudden they're talking about he's going to be vice president. And I'm like, what? So, and there's quite the Canadian connection to it. A guy actually who all three of us know fairly well, Jamil Javani. He was elected a Conservative MP in a by-election in, I think, Durham to replace Aaron O'Toole. He's a sitting Conservative member of Parliament in Canada. He was roommates with this guy, was in his wedding party, apparently best friends. So this could have radical effect on Canada-U.S. relations should Trump return to the White House with J.D. Vance at his side and Jamil Javani return to Parliament after the next election that could see a Poilievre government. This could have, these two guys could really hold the relationship of the country in their hands.
Built-in relationship.
Yeah. Is DEI about to DIE, diversity, equity, inclusion, woke mania that has swept the corporate world, increasingly dropping like flies. Major companies that thought this was going to earn them all sorts of brownie points are very quickly learning that actually it might be hurting business, both in terms of hiring people incompetent for the job, but increasingly with the public that is increasingly seeing a big backlash against DEI and woke programs like that. And we'll see if we get time to it. Justin Trudeau blames the Toronto flash flooding on, well, of course, none other than climate change. Because it never rains in Toronto, right?
Never.
Have to be fair. It is a lot of rain. But we've had times with lots of rain through, all of the history of the Earth. As long as there's been water on the Earth. So, but yeah, of course, it's climate change. All right. So we're going to get into it. The Trump assassination plot thickens. I was on Hannaford just, I think, yesterday. We went into this Monday. We did Monday. We went into a fair bit of detail. Some pretty dark questions arising through the Trump assassination plot. I think many people watching, listening right now will know of some of at least the major, really big questions. Why was a sniper's paradise nest 130 meters away from where Trump would be a stationary target at a podium, completely unsecured? Why did the Secret Service not respond to people screaming at them to do something about the man with the gun on the roof more than 2 minutes before Trump was shot, and many more shot at him? Why did the Secret Service detail actually allow him to stop them while he was still very potentially in harm's way, while he was on the stage? There's supposed to be a human shield getting him out. Those are the questions we had before, but new questions have since arisen. One, it's either local or state police officer, says he confronted the assassin while he was walking around that area with a rangefinder. Now, it's not many things to use a rangefinder for. I have a rangefinder. I use it for shooting, mostly archery. But
Good for golf, but I don't imagine he had clubs over his shoulder.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, maybe he was there to get into the weird golf grudge match between Biden and Trump. I mean, like, I suppose that might be better than some of the explanations we've had from the Secret Service so far. That he was golfing. But yeah, I suppose you could use it for golf. I use it for archery, some long-range shooting, but not much. But, you know, that's what you use it for. He had a rangefinder, and he reported this 28 minutes before the shooting took place to the Secret Service. Nothing. The head of the Secret Service, we'll get into this in a bit, who's been decried by some Republicans as a DEI hire, another diversity hire there to check some boxes, not based on merit. Her excuse for why they hadn't secured that roof, which is a sniper's paradise, was that it was too, quote, slopey. Now, you know what? Let's put some pictures up on the screen right now. The roof that was too slopey for the Secret Service, but not for the assassin. And let's compare that to the slope on the roof that had a Secret Service sniper on it. If you take a look, the roof they actually had a sniper on was significantly slopier. He actually couldn't lay in prone position. His sniper rifle had to be up on a tripod to stand still. It had a much greater slope, but she says it was just too dangerous to put someone up on this slopey roof. I guess that's one of the new big ones that's come out, Dave. Every day we get more questions than answers. Where do you think this story's going?
Nobody knows, Derek. Nobody knows. We've had some good stories. Retired senior Mountie today told our Lee Harding that it was, quote, a colossal cock-up. He says, the Mountie says he's being told that the Secret Service sniper did have the gunman in his sights, was told not to shoot.
We're seeing some reports of that he had it for quite a while, told not to shoot.
But yeah, things that aren't debatable. 2 minutes before the shots rang out, people were yelling at cops to alert them about this guy on the roof
with a gun.
They
could see a gun.
Also confirmed, a local police officer climbed up, saw him there, and then retreated because he had a rifle pointed at him.
Yeah. And he told the Secret Service about it.
Yeah.
And they did nothing.
Kind of reminds me of all those cops in Uvalde, Texas, standing around outside that school while all the kids were slaughtered. You know, I'm the least conspiracy guy going here. Mm-hmm. I believe the moon landing happened. There's too many questions. How does he get carrying a ladder through all those people while holding an AR? You know,
defies belief.
It absolutely defies belief. The slopey roof excuse is beyond parody.
Well, it has become a parody. Everyone's let's show the video actually that's going viral today of a cow on a slopey roof. People making fun of it that this cow could defeat the Secret Service.
Yeah, there was a great meme of all the cops on the roof with the guy laying there dead, and saying, "Okay, yeah, we've eliminated him. We're getting down now because it's too slopey."
Yeah,
you know, it's
and it's not a slopey roof. Like there is a slope on the roof, but it is a gentle slope. One so gentle he was able to lay prone while shooting Trump.
Yeah. So the Republicans have said they're going to call a joint committee together to investigate this. But how long ago was Kennedy? And we're still asking questions about that.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I haven't heard on Trump is there was a grassy knoll. But this story is going to go on forever.
Yeah. Cory, it is a meme heaven.
There's no end.
There is a lot of good fun to it.
On a serious issue, but it's still, I mean, you can't help yourself. The good fun from one side, another side wishing it had actually happened, but the other side kind of taking it in stride. Some people maybe taking it too far, saying, oh, it's a plot from the Democrats. You don't know that yet. You can't fairly say that. But we can say there are some huge, they're not just holes in the story. Like, holes imply that there's something solid in the story. There's almost nothing solid. Nothing that happened makes any sense.
And you know who's taking the biggest kicking in memes is that 5'4" Secret Service officer.
Well, that's
Yeah.
Who's a close protection officer from Trump who can't even holster her gun properly.
Speaking of her and memes, we got to put up the great meme of her DEI another day.
Yes. So I mean, there was outrage about her. You know, I guess she was trying to do the job to the best of her ability. But if you notice the Secret Service around Trump the following evening when he walked into the RNC
They're a
in
different team.
Milwaukee,
they're all tall men.
every Secret Service guy was taller than Trump.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still on the side of we're seeing mass incompetence and complacency. I can believe that there'd be a person or two in there who would like to facilitate the assassination, but these conspiracies to pull them off with more than a person or two, it just. But I mean, the one we're speaking of, the Secret Service one who's 5 whatever, and seeing the panic on her face,
She can't even holster and unholster her
holstering
gun
and everything else. This was a deeply unqualified person in that role. I couldn't do it, but that I wouldn't expect. I would have panicked and been on the floor too. That's why I'm not there. You're supposed to train the best. Now, was she placed there because they wanted to surround her by incompetent Secret Service people to lead to a bad end? I don't know. I think the DEI talk kind of dominates things. We really are, well, we've got to make sure we got a number of women in there. And there hasn't been, at least nothing we've heard of, an assassination attempt like this in a long time. Like you get complacent.
They're all stopped before it happens.
You start to
That's why
think
we
that
haven't
you've
had shots
caught
fired
them.
at president since 1981.
Yeah. And I mean, why weren't there little things like to see on that roof? I mean, a drone, a $100 drone from somewhere you could fly around and see everything. Somebody sitting on a laptop could see.
Helicopter. Why isn't there a police helicopter?
Another one of the, again, it's a meme heaven. One of the great ones going on is that golf meme. I think it's like Tiger Woods versus what's his nuts, the old guy with the beard. So it's got like the world's. Pardon?
John Daly?
Yeah. So it's got like Secret Service. Can't see the shooter, and then like Daly there is it's labeled like drunk mega supporters who like can spot the guy. We're gonna have to put that one up, obviously.
We'll get more information.
Like,
I mean,
tons of people saw this guy, but everybody but the Secret Service.
Yeah. Look at the RCMP and some of the stunts they've done in Canada. The only difference is we're hearing some of it down there. If this was an RCMP event in Canada, we still wouldn't even heard if there was a shooter taken down yet. And whether it'd be years before we start getting, because they get so tight-lipped on everything.
That said, there hasn't been a press conference by the Secret Service, or the FBI.
They're keeping a low.
No, I think. Well, she has spoken a bit now, which is where we got the bit that the rope
that
was
was
too slopey.
congressional testimony.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay.
Then so coming back to the Overwatch counter sniper unit there, it's unconfirmed reports, but like you could see he's clearly tracking someone, and then eventually takes a shot. It's unconfirmed right now exactly what was going on, but the unconfirmed reports, and this seems to be at least backed up by the visual of the video of various videos from different angles we can see. The unconfirmed reports are that he asked permission before the shooting to take the shot, was denied permission to take the shot, and then while the shooting was taking place was denied permission and then just took it anyway. And perhaps is facing some kind of consequences for
He may
that.
have been fired is what we understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's still to be confirmed, but that's increasingly looking like it was very possibly the case. I know I'm using a bunch of weasel words here, but because so much of this is in evolution, evolving quickly, and I don't want to stick my neck too far out and it turn out to be wrong. But I mean, if that's the case, it's treason. That's treason right there. And that guy has every right to defy orders because he was being told to not do his duty.
Or at least just criminally high incompetence. Whoever's on the other end of the radio thinking, well, we don't know 100%. We don't want shooting to happen around the crowd. He was certified by the safety inspector.
Yeah, the minimum.
I got to do my checklist first. I mean,
is the shooter diverse? Make sure the shooter isn't diverse.
Yeah.
One thing we don't know either is the communication system. Right? You got local, state, federal agents, Homeland Security, Secret Service. We don't know whether they're on the same channel. We don't know, how they're communicating with each other.
Well, they all report to the Secret Service. The Secret Service is in charge of the show, and that guy was Secret Service. He would have been talking to a superior with the authority to make that call. And again, those reports are not yet 100%. We're not going to know some of this for at least a few weeks, possibly months. God knows, even years.
Well, the strange thing with this is the conspiracy theories are coming out from the far left and they're coming out from the far right.
Yeah.
Both saying it's staged, but for completely different reasons. You know, or at least one saying, you know, they're saying, oh, they wanted to take him out, and then the other one saying, oh, it was staged just to make him look good. Because again, I mean, talk about unintended consequences. I mean, if he'd fallen to the stage and lost bowel control and had to be carried sobbing out of there, the Democrats wouldn't, you know, they would have been thrilled on how weak it made him look and everything, and no harm, no foul. But instead, an unintended political gift. I mean, again, when I saw that picture, holy cow, he's standing there with the blood running down his fist up, the flag in the background, like.
It's the ultimate hero shot. It looks like something from Team America World Police.
Staged just because there's his campaign brochure for the next 4 months.
But we know it's not staged, I think, for two primary reasons. One, it's hard to get someone to volunteer to die
it wasn't
that easily. Two, it appears that he's the world's worst sniper because he missed a stationary target at not a great distance, and he was in prone position. It was great for him. But if he was going to shoot that close, like less than an inch, and to just wound him enough to give him a little bit of blood for the picture, but not to kill him, and the way Trump moved his head, he would have to be the greatest sniper who has ever lived. He'd put Vasily Zaitsev to shame, put the American sniper guy to shame. So one theory, actually both theories require him to be a good sniper. On the extreme ends, like the Democrats planned the whole thing, he'd have to be at least a decent sniper because no one would recruit someone who's that bad. And then for the left-wing conspiracy, he'd have to be the world's greatest sniper to just graze his ear and not kill him as he's turning his head. Obviously, not possible.
Yeah, the one thing I find strange about this is a 20-year-old kid, right? Zero social media presence, nothing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, do you know any 20-year-old who's not on social media in some
and
way,
he's studying
shape, or form?
computers at university? It's not possible. It was obviously wiped by Secret Service or someone within the federal government. It was obviously wiped. They have it somewhere, but what they don't want whatever his motivations and thinking was. You can only speculate about what it is because they wiped it.
But as a harvested assassin, Patsy, he just doesn't. Sorry, this was a geeky, introverted 20-year-old kid. He hasn't been through special training to pull off this.
Yeah, and they all tend to leave notes, don't they? I mean, didn't Hinckley profess his love for Jodie Foster? And
this guy knows he will die, like succeeding or not.
It's a suicidal endeavor. Yeah.
You're dead regardless of if you succeed. That assassin's dead.
We're going to be talking about this for a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's bring it. I mean, the assassination itself doesn't necessarily touch close to home, but the Trump story, as it's developing right now, does have a significant Canadian angle now. So J.D. Vance, named by Trump as his running mate, he'll be speaking this evening. I think Trump speaks tomorrow.
Thursday, yes.
Thursday, yeah. Trump will speak Thursday, but J.D. Vance speaks tonight. His big national debut. He's already kind of had one. So I remember quite some time ago now. Old friend of mine, said, Derek, you got to read this book, Hillbilly Elegy. And the person wore me down. Took a couple tries, wore me down. I read this thing. It's a great. Have you all read it?
I haven't read it.
No.
Well, everyone's going to read it now.
I'll watch the movie tonight on Netflix.
I mean, win or lose, his book sales were already pretty damn good, I think, on it. But I mean, win or lose, I mean, it's going to shoot. Yeah. It's probably already right back to the top of the list. It's a great book. Talking kind of one of the forgotten man of America, the poor rural whites, essentially the people of Appalachia, and the hillbilly highway moving up, able to at least find some way out of poverty, but. How the hillbilly highways kind of stopped. Those routes out of rural poverty are really drying up. How drugs, particularly methamphetamines, are swamping the community. He's speaking to an audience that really has been forgotten in America, and Trump's tapped into it. But this guy is the face of this part of America. So we'll see what he has to say tonight. It's an interesting pick. 39 years old. So millennial, be the first millennial in the White House. Poor Gen X. Boomer Trump skips right over Gen X and goes straight to millennials. So it's, I think this would make him, if not the youngest.
The youngest
make
ever.
him the youngest?
The youngest ever.
Yeah, the youngest man in the White House in either part of the ticket. but the Canadian connection. So Jamil Giovanni, we all know him reasonably well here. Actually, I think he's been on your show before.
Yeah,
he's been on your show. We all know him pretty well. Year and a half circa ago, he ran in a by-election to replace Aaron O'Toole as the Conservative Member of Parliament in Durham, Ontario. He was successful. He sits in the Conservative caucus now. Interesting guy, Jamil. He's
got a similar, unlikely background story to where he got to.
I mean, he's a Black Conservative and was fired, I think, was it by Chorus or CTV? I don't want to get in trouble with the one I'm wrong.
I can't remember which one.
Chorus is in enough trouble.
Yeah, they're having a bad enough day.
I'm not going to say which, but he was fired from one of the major broadcasters from his radio gig because he says he wasn't playing the part of the black man, which is supposed to hate anything conservative or on the right. He just wasn't playing the typecast that was expected of him. So very interesting guy. Turns out I had no idea. Jamil Giovanni and JD Vance were roommates in law school.
At Yale.
At Yale.
Yeah. And as you said earlier, best friends. And it's going to be interesting to see if and when Poilievre government gets elected, what sort of role Giovanni will have in Canada-U.S. relations. The other thing that is a good sign for Canada is, when you think of hillbillies, you think he's going to be senator from Kentucky. He's actually a senator from Ohio, and Ohio is
on the border with Kentucky. He's on that Appalachia
there's some
area.
hillbillies in Ohio.
Is there? Okay, I've only driven through there very quickly.
There's hillbillies from Ontario. You just don't know.
Canada is Ohio's biggest trading partner.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that Mr. Vance will know Canada and Canadian government and export laws and all that sort of stuff very, very well. So if that helps Canada or hurts, the U.S. likes protectionism, especially during election campaigns.
Is good, at least, or a knowledge that it's a reciprocal relationship. Because when a protectionist comes from somewhere, if they've had no interaction with Canada, they might underestimate, how important we are to each other. Yes, we're tiny compared to the United States, but we're still pretty integral to their economy.
And Trudeau has soured the relationship with Trump. So maybe a bridge there with Vance. I guess Trudeau called Trump shortly after he was shot, and I think the poor man said, "I've been through enough. I don't want to talk to that idiot," and hung up the phone. But I think it can only be good for Canada.
Yeah, it's Cory. He and him being from Ohio, I think, is particularly relevant. It's a hyper important swing state. In Ohio, the math of getting to the presidency for either side is extremely difficult. Ohio is one of those pretty much must-win states now. It's
strategically and just on every level. Trump has really got this in the bag. What put him over the edge when he won back in 2016 was winning the working man's vote through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, Michigan, those areas where they felt set upon by woke administrations, shutting down their industries, looking down on them as hillbillies. He's going to tie that right up now. He already had it. The Teamsters were speaking at the
Teamsters for the first time ever.
Yeah,
the overnight bump in the polls was 9 points apparently.
Yeah.
And even CNN,
I never heard of one up.
even CNN last night was doing their magic wall, and the entire country is now red. Even CNN is admitting it's going to be a Trump sweep at the moment.
Well, and it's
won't be like a 1984 blowout, but it'll be next to it.
It'll be the left coast and then the rest of the United States.
The collapse in Biden's competency as well at the same time. All this is really unraveled in a month. That debate was just, we talked about it already, but and now I was hearing today that they're looking to fast track Biden's nomination, get it done. They're not liking the voices from within and the infighting. So I don't know. Strategically, I think the thing to do is get him the hell out. We're ripping ourselves to shreds, or you entrench him.
Let's talk about that.
Now. I don't think you can take him out because there's not going to be anybody who wants to be the sacrificial.
Got to be careful with the term "take him out" now.
Yes, very true.
So let's talk about Biden because pre-assassination, that was all the talk. Biden's got to go, and for the Democrats, if any chance, they clearly had to swap Biden out. At this point, my thinking's completely changed. the Democrats are toast. I mean, there's an outside chance they pull it off and Trump implodes. Again, I got to be careful with language now, but there was an outside chance if they change their candidate around, maybe. But at this point, it looks like the Democrats are toast no matter what. So if I'm a Democrat, I think, well, let them take the fall now, because this internal party fighting is not just going to hurt the top of the ticket; it's going to hurt the down ballot. You know, your congressmen, senators, state houses, state governors, that stuff. At this point, it's probably not worth the civil war to change out the candidate. I think let old man Biden take the fall, and we'll try to pick up the pieces afterwards. Well, that's my thinking, but I want to know what you guys think.
No, it's true. And some of the names, like Dave was saying too, like, you know, Gavin Newsom and other names people were banning about, but now, if it looks that far gone, I mean, there's no good second place prize in the American system. It's not like here where you'll be the head of the opposition for 4 years to take another crack at it or something. I mean, whatever happened to Dukakis or some of the others. I mean, when you kick at that can and you miss, you're done. There's
except for Trump.
There's no seat. Well, he's an exception on every
he's another
front,
creature.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we don't hear much from Sarah Palin anymore, do we?
No.
So yeah, it's. I agree with Derek. I don't think there's any chance that anybody wants to replace him. I mean, if they can find a patsy, and I guess I shouldn't use that word either.
But is it really worth?
always
Is it worth?
But you got to
bloodshed in
find.
the party
Yeah.
because you have to, for them to change out Biden. He is the presumptive
sitting
nominee.
president,
He has won the primaries overwhelmingly as the sitting president. Not surprisingly, he's got the delegates. For him to not run, he must agree to step aside. And at this point, he does not want to step aside. Joe Biden does not want him to step aside. You have to completely ruin the man beyond where he's already been ruined, humiliated to get him to want to step aside. That kind of bloodshed within a party leaves. Cory, you know from internal. You said you haven't had a good hair day since 2010. When did you start getting involved in the Wild Rose Party?
true enough, that might be
2010.
Yeah.
So and it's internal party fights that always leave the deepest scars. You never really forget. That stuff doesn't go away. It just doesn't seem to be worth the internal bloodshed at this point for the Democrats. If I'm the Democrats at this point, just let them do it and try to pick up the pieces in December.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, focus the resources on those other races, those senatorial races, those Congress. Because you still want to maintain what you can if you got a lost cause. I could see that strategically.
Maybe talk about what you said. It didn't have much of an effect on Canada, but one way that it did was some of the disgusting reaction from the left wing. Right? You've got a UBC medical professor lamenting the fact that the assassin missed. And other academics were basically tweeting the same thing. And of course, Derek, as you know, they immediately locked down their accounts. And but everybody, I was watching Twitter in the States, everybody from firefighters to school guidance counselors to teachers who wrote stupid stuff, they're all getting fired. Mm-hmm. What's happening in Canadian academia?
We are technically a different country, so it's a little bit of a different effect. But I mean, the point stands. Can you imagine if, say, this had happened to Biden or to Obama? Damn right, everyone be fired, even on the Canadian side of the border.
Well, it's beyond the pale, celebrating an assassination. And part of it, I know some people, Adam Zivo, who was a guest recently, was saying, I don't like this cancel culture swarm going on. I kind of agree, but there's some nuance going on with this. I mean, there's a Home Depot woman who got fired from her job. You know what? Some Home Depot clerk wants to put off their weird stuff, whatever. That's, I guess, between her and Home Depot. But the problem
was it was reflecting Home Depot hurting their brand.
Yes, so professor of medicine, though. That's getting matters. Into a whole different level. It's not just what they said, but who. And, it crossed a big line. I tweeted that out. That was of all tweets or X's I put out, I think it had 34,000 likes, 700,000 impressions, and Megyn Kelly followed me over it. That's the attention, though, coming from the States over a Canadian professor because you crossed such a huge line. I mean, you were wishing the assassination.
Well, let's be careful. Let's not pretend there's not been some assassinations that we liked. Trump assassinated the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Now, he did it with a missile. Yeah. It feels a little less assassination-y when it's a drone strike or a missile, but he took out, it was a targeted strike on a terrorist leader, but it was an assassination. So, I mean, but there's a difference between assassinating a terrorist leader in an enemy state and an attempted assassination of someone seeking elected office in the world's leading democracy. There is a difference.
Apples and oranges.
Well, it is apples and oranges, But I just want to be clear that not every assassination we treat the same.
There's some lunacy.
But they're not the same category.
Yeah.
They are apples and oranges.
It reflects a lot of the language that's gone on for some years too, though, when they had, one nutcase on X is not unusual, but saying, he's going to kill millions if he becomes president again. He meant this guy. He really thinks, that mental exercise people do sometimes. If you could go back in time and kill Hitler when he was, still in Austria, would you do it? There's people, they literally called him Hitler for 8 solid years now. Mm-hmm. There's people who really think they might be saving millions by killing this man. And that's really,
and if you believe that,
really disturbing.
Then it kind of legitimizes it.
Yes, they think that it would be a worthwhile action for humanity. As you said, if we feel morally justified in bombing an Iranian dictator or Gaddafi, others like that, then they in their mind feel this, so that's a scary place for the democratic world to get to.
I think what you're talking about, those people are sitting in their underwear in their mom's basement.
Usually.
When you're a professor of medicine
Yes.
at UBC, you should know better.
No, absolutely.
Well, and you have an audience of people that are supposed to take you seriously. Let's talk about another reaction in Canada, a very different reaction that received a very different reception from the Canadian establishment. Pierre Poilievre's reaction. Happy the assassin's dead. I know a lot of our viewers and stuff are not the biggest fans of Andrew Coyne. I think he's pretty off the reservation sometimes, but overall, more than 50% of the time, he's at least a rational voice. But Andrew Coyne, kind of speaking for, I think, a lot in the Canadian media establishment, calling it more or less unbecoming of him. We might be thinking it, but we shouldn't say it. No, of course we should say we're happy that the assassin is dead. And then the Liberal Party condemning Pierre Poilievre for saying he's happy the assassin's dead. There's only one reason, two potential reasons you should not be happy the assassin's dead. One fair, one not fair. One is, you didn't really mind that he tried. Too bad for the guy. He shouldn't be dead. That's not a good reason. There's only one good reason. That's that. A bit, get him to talk. I'm doubtful he was actually answering to anybody because he's, as I said before, if I was planning a presidential assassination, I would get someone who's been to the range for more than 5 minutes in their life. This guy was pretty bad shot. But maybe we'll just, from either of you, just this bizarre Canadian establishment, political and media establishment squeamishness to say we're happy that a man who tried to murder the likely next president of the United States is dead.
And after this left-wing outrage, Poilievre went on I believe it was a Toronto radio station the next morning and doubled down. He said, what did people expect me to say?
Yeah. It was badly phrased. As far as a guy who's at the position
Poilievre was badly phrased?
I believe so. I could say, if I were a comms person and saying that, you could even say, I'm happy he was liquidated before he could harm somebody else. Or I was happy he was killed before he could harm somebody else. But a little caveat on there really helps. It just sounds a little like celebrating death. It's also, anybody with common sense should know the reason you would be at all jubilant with the death of this guy is because it's stopped him from shooting 6 more people in the crowd.
Yeah, he's a murderer. He did kill at least one, possibly some more. We'll see how he go in the hospital.
Yeah,
they really got Trump.
I'm certainly not shedding tears for the fact this guy's gone, but
I'm surprised to hear you say you were like the least polite guy around the newsroom.
But I'm an online prick. That's my job.
Yeah.
Poilievre is running to be the prime minister. I'm just saying comms, you can avoid the distractions by not jumping into some of the things. I'm just saying it could have been phrased better. His sentiment was fine. It was just inviting the coins and the pearl clutching.
But isn't that kind of the point? Is to invite the pearl clutching?
His base loves him.
Oh, true enough.
Right? His opposition, the coins of the world, they're wallowing.
True enough.
Right?
He's eating an apple through the thing as well. It was.
Poilievre was sitting there eating an apple, hitting enter on his tweet. He's like, let's see them go nuts for this.
And I don't blame him for doubling down later. That's the once the swarms start, never apologize. That's just inviting it. So carry on. The toothpaste is out, whatever it might be, good or bad, and so forth. But I just think he could have avoided a little grief by phrasing it a little differently. But it's not the end of the world.
I'm shocked. I'm like Derek. I'm shocked.
I'm shocked at you. Shocked and a little disappointed, Cory.
Disappointed, yes.
No,
pick a weird issue to try to be the voice of reason.
Yeah, it'll pass.
Okay. We're going to flow one topic to another, but they're going to blend nicely. Is DEI about to DIE, diversity, equity, inclusion, which is essentially the new, it's the more technical word that the woke guys use for programs to help people that they think are in special need of help because they can't help themselves. I don't know if I put that fairly or not, but that's as fair as I can think I can put it. The backlash is not coming; it's here, and it's happening hard. It
started.
The pendulum is swinging hard.
Finally, started last week when I think you called them a agriculture supply company, Tractor World or something like that.
Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply. They came out and said, we're going to go back to our business. We're going to just concentrate on doing whatever it is we do. We're not going to stop funding. We're going to stop funding gay pride parades and stuff like that. Next, and just yesterday, Tuesday, Microsoft fired their entire DEI team. I thought I heard maybe 150 people out the door.
Beautiful.
Out the door.
Yeah.
And then John Deere, there was a online campaign started against them only a week ago for their diversity and their funding of LGBTQ plus events and
You
all that sort of
forgot
stuff.
S.
SQRTLMNOP.
You forgot some letters.
Yeah.
There's symbols.
So obviously the pressure got to them. And they came out today, they issued a statement saying, we're going to get back to doing the tractor business, concentrating on that, concentrating on growing the business. And, they've completely put DEI in the toilet. Question is, I think for me, is it just internet pressure or is it shareholder pressure?
Well, I actually think this, if we're going to really go back to what's the big first corporation to fall from DIE, Budweiser or Anheuser-Busch.
Started the dominoes.
That started it. They just, what was the name of?
Dylan Mulvaney.
Dylan Mulvaney.
Dylan Mulvaney.
Bud Light.
They got into playing trans politics and stuff. And none of this is just about accept people, which we do. We just don't care. Yeah. It's just pushing in your face and just being overly obnoxious about it, and companies trying to drape themselves in whatever color the flag is now, and just annoying people. And Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser got crushed for it. They're still feeling it. And they not only canceled the Dylan Mulvaney thing, they more or less just backed out. We're not in the woke business anymore. We're forgetting the DIE stuff. Sorry, DEI. Sorry,
billions of dollars poorer.
Billions for it, like real costs. We talked a bit about how DEI has seemingly infected the Secret Service. I mean, if there's anything that should be 100% merit-based, it's the bloody Secret Service, which had until a few days ago an impeccable reputation for hyper-competence, hyper-merit. Biden had put in place what appears to be a diversity hire with very predictable outcomes. So we got to put that meme up again. DEI another day. Let's show that one again. God, I love that one. And then a real cost, not this time to a company, but to taxpayers and the tax base. Elon Musk moving SpaceX and Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. It's Twitter X. I'm calling it Twitter X. Moving Twitter X and SpaceX from California to Texas. I think it's literally called Spaceport, Texas. I guess it's his home private town or something.
And the last straw for Musk was Gavin Newsom passing a law that said teachers don't have to tell parents when their kids want to be transgendered. Yeah. Exactly the opposite of what Alberta's done and New Brunswick's done. And then he said he's tired of Twitter because staff were tired of stepping over zombies laying on the street. San Francisco is just such a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a feeling this was coming for a while.
That's going to cost California tax base billions of dollars a year.
They've been
many billions.
Bleeding for a while, but this gives Musk a real good launch point. I think this has been planned for a while, but okay.
Just wait.
Newsom's really crossed it now. This is when I'm going to announce it. We're out. Goodbye. And DEI, I mean, that's the thing is the real cost is coming in. As you were talking about, I think shareholder pressure is a large part of it. I mean, the bottom line is you buy shares because you want a return.
Yeah.
If you're not getting the return, you're seeing them crapping on the client base, you're either going to go nuts at the shareholder meetings or you're going to dump your shares. You're going to get out. I mean, the dollar wins in the end. And I mean, know your client base. I mean, Budweiser, come on. You weren't,
Who drinks Bud?
You weren't Starbucks. I mean, you got to know who you're going after. I'm thrilled. I just noticed just the other day, I think there was something about it, but I forgot about it. There's a Chick-fil-A going in on McLeod Trail in Calgary.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to it. I love
I've never
Chick-fil-A.
actually had it.
It's really good chicken sandwiches. And they're unapologetic. They won't run on Sundays because their owners are Christians. I don't care.
I find that
I
annoying.
just want
but
a good
it's like,
chicken sandwich.
I find it annoying I can't get the chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Where we all had lunch here today from Edelweiss Village. They're closed on Sundays. And the place is like the ultimate Sunday shopping and eating experience. It pees me off a bit, but what am I going to do?
But if
It's awesome, so I go on Saturday.
If Chick-fil-A started running floats and pride parades, they're probably not going to do themselves any favors. I'm indifferent either way. I just want a good sandwich. Check it out when you go there. It's good. It's you won't be able to go back to the Wendy's and other fare they give you once you've had a Chick-fil-A.
This episode of The Pipeline brought to you by Chick-fil-A and My Pillow.
But
we need to get those guys out.
It's purely merit based. I mean, if there's chicken sandwiches were crap, I wouldn't be saying it and plugging these guys. Hopefully businesses are going back that way altogether and all around. Go there because you like the meal or not. Who cares about their social stances?
Yeah, and you know who the last people to change will be is academia,
Oh, yeah.
as they always are.
Well, what's going to happen? They're not going to kind of come in line with rationality and mainstream. They're going to get even crazier. They're going to get even more radical.
But I mean,
at the same time,
we're going down a sidetrack, but there's some truth. Again, when I talk where the dollar speaks in the end, academia has gone so bananas, particularly over the Israel issue, forgetting the last names of a whole heck of a lot of their primary donors who have been pulling dollars like mad out of those universities. And, even Harvard, speaking of DEI, got rid of their DEI president over that crap.
Yeah.
There will be the last, but eventually, again, dollars dry up. And that's what makes change.
Yep.
It's happening. It's happening big. Okay, real quick before we run out of time. Toronto, big flash floods. Actually, we'll show some of the video here. Drake's mansion in Toronto got water rushing through it.
It looked like a river.
Yeah,
100 millimeters of rain in it's the equivalent of 1 month's worth of rain.
it's a lot of rain. But I mean, these things happen. There's always been floods. There's always going to be floods, but it's different now because these are different floods. These are climate change floods. So Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau both said this is climate change. So if we just tax your drive to work a bit more, we can stop flooding in Toronto. Is that right, Cory?
Apparently so. We've been taxing a while now. Shouldn't these storms have already stopped? I mean,
Well, we should have droughts,
slow down.
like the drought that they promised we'd have here in Alberta.
I think, I know not enough people are getting sick of it, but I sure am. Everything's climate change. I mean, we joke about it, but it's true. Hot out, climate change. Cold out, climate change. Windy, climate change. Enough.
But it's not just that now. Justin Trudeau says our biggest security concern, don't worry that Canada doesn't have an Army, Navy, and Air Force anymore because Canada's got a carbon tax because climate change is our biggest security issue.
The real enemy. Every time Calgary gets a good downpour, underpasses throughout the city get flooded. Always happens. Every single storm. I'm surprised I haven't heard Gondek blame climate change for that.
Yeah, she's keeping it in her pocket.
Their $87 billion climate emergency. Yeah, it's just ludicrous. Everything from forest fires, naturally occurring events, forest fires, floods, you name it, it's climate change's fault.
Well, and I get sick of not just the politicians, but the media, the legacy media. Everything now is a weather event. Every weather map shows blazing red, scorching weather, even if it's seasonal conditions going on out there. Everything's a warning. Everything's a watch. Everything's an emergency. And the weather isn't a heck of a lot different. I worked outdoors for 20 years. Trust me, you watch the weather.
Yeah.
But it was never reported on as such a crisis.
But it's not even just
happens.
Otherwise normal weather events. It's everything. As Trudeau, it's somehow affects Russia-Ukraine war somehow. I've seen it's a feminist issue. It's a racial BIPOC issue. I mean, when we say everything is climate change, we're not even just talking everything weather and environmental. It's everything.
Well, CTV said days are getting longer because of climate change. That was just the other day.
Yeah, we're doing a story on it. It's actually 1/10 or 100 of a millisecond longer.
Oh, I'm never going to get to sleep.
I know. It's crazy. What are you going to do with all that extra
spinning
time?
faster or slower? Is it changing the spin of the Earth?
I don't know.
But I mean, that they even found this worth writing about. But why?
It's interesting.
I love these guys. Like, don't stop talking.
Yeah.
Don't stop talking, guys.
Speaking of chorus
Please keep
stock,
going. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's quit while we're ahead before our stock goes down, gentlemen. Dave, thanks for filling in for Nigel. I think we're going to have you for another week, too, before Nigel's
Yeah, I
back.
can't believe it. I'm just Nigel.
Bad Nigel.
Bad Nigel.
And Cory, thanks for being your sane, smiley,
Adding that
always.
nice calm.
Disappointing
Oh.
self.
I'll be belligerent next week.
That's it for today. If you're not yet a member of the Western Standard, shame on you. You should be, you freeloader. Right now, 99% of the Canadian media is funded by Justin Trudeau's federal media bailout. The Western Standard does not take it. If you want us to keep not taking it, you need to do your part, step up, and stop freeloading on this stuff. Go to westernstandard.news right now. Click on subscribe. It's only $10 a month or $100 a year to get you unlimited access to all Western Standard content. And very importantly, you get to be one of the people in Canada supporting one of less than 5, I think, significant non-government controlled and funded media in Canada. It's very important. Please sponsor a journalist today. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend and God bless. You can become a Western Standard member for just $10 a month.